Hello and welcome to the first part of our webinar or training on the remote SIM provisioning. But first of all, let me introduce myself. My name is Olga Kietla. I am a senior technical consultant at Comprion. Comprion is a well-known test tool and test equipment manufacturer in the area of telecommunications. My background is cryptography, and I have almost 15 years of experience in the smart card area. So mainly I work in the standardization area. I write standards. And as you know, the remote SIM provisioning or embedded SIM, eSIM, eUSSC is all of the same topic. So this all is defined by GSMA, mainly by GSMA. I started to work on the standards from the very beginning, which is now almost 15 years. This is to me. I hope you will enjoy the training. And now let's dive in. The agenda for today is the introduction part mainly. So we'll talk about the eSIM. Why do we have the eSIM? The world was good enough without it. So why do we have it? We will talk about the applied RSP technology, so the trends and deployments on the market. As you know, there are two concepts, M2M and consumer devices, the two different solutions defined by GSMA. This is also part of the topic today. And the concepts of operator profiles. So what is a profile? So you will learn this today. Okay, let's dive in. So why do we have the eSIM? I'll talk about the third wave, the challenges, the eUSSC definitions, the eUSSC or eSIM, so you probably heard of it, and finally the value chain of the eSIM. The so-called third wave is coming. This was on the headlines of some manufacturers, and you've probably seen a lot in the business magazines, like so the announcements like this, where it's saying so that tens of billions of data spotting devices will be connected to the internet in the future, in the near future. So this is our world today. Yes, some people call the invention of the mobile phones the first wave, sorry. Then the smartphones, actually the second wave. And then nowadays with the IoT or the Internet of Things, connected devices, this is the so-called third wave. So you can see it in the smart cities, in the M2M devices, the consumer devices. This is our world today. But what are the challenges which the traditional SIM has to face? So the first challenge, I call it the physical one, or the vulnerability, lack of space. Actually, the devices are quite often located in the diverse and unsupervised locations. They are often subject of external influences, the weather, temperature, and vibration. So for example, just imagine the oil pipe in the ocean or the wind turbine somewhere in the middle of Siberia. So you can imagine the weather and the temperatures are different. Yes, and vibration. Vibration in the car is a different one as you have it just in a standalone device. Yes, and sometimes the SIM cards, they need to be protected and kept in a secure part of the device, where it will not be damaged or open to the theft. And sometimes the devices are quite small, so they have a limited space inside. So all of this leads to this first challenge, how to increase protection of highly vulnerable devices without requiring too much space. The second challenge is, the question of access. Just imagine the same wind turbine in the middle of Siberia or the oil pipe in the ocean. And imagine the situation where you have to change the operator. How will you do it? So the devices quite often have a long lifespan, especially in the M2M area, so machine to machine. Yes, and can be the case the operator just disappears, or the contract becomes not appropriate, or you're not happy with this as a manufacturer, and you have to change it. So how will you do it without extra costs and efforts? This is what I call logical challenge, how to switch between the operators. The solution. So the GSMA came with the idea of such definition, so you can see it on the screen. The eUSSC or embedded SIM is a USSC which is not easily accessible or replaceable, is not intended to be removed or replaced in the terminal, and enables the secure changing of subscriptions. You can see it marked black. So because this is actually, this changing of subscriptions is the way to overcome the second challenge. So this is what we call remote SIM provisioning. This allows the remote switching between operators. I will go into details later on. Actually, the conditions are then for the so we have as a card with the usual USSC functions, features, or services, plus there's remote SIM provisioning, and this all together is called the eUSSC. Please note, the eUSSC is explicitly defined not to be a soft SIM in GSMA. So it's still a piece of hardware. So, and here we have the second challenge. Okay, now we have in the definition some other parts marked black. So, yes, a USSC which is not easily accessible and or replaceable is not intended to be removed or replaced. Okay, and here we have the form factors defined by ETSI M2M, and they are used for the soldered USSC. So this solves the vulnerability issue. You can see it in the picture, so this is maybe the way how it can look like. Okay, so it means the classic way of changing the operator was when we had the regular SIM card inserted into the mobile. Yes, and if we wanted to switch between operators, we just removed it from the device and inserted the new one. Here we go. The RSP way goes a bit different. So the eSIM allows customers, or actually consumers, to store multiple operator credentials or subscriptions. Another word is also profiles. Yes, to store them on the device simultaneously. So it means we can have even multiple of them on the device, but we still needs to enable them, or by switching them remotely, we enable this subscription or profile, and yes, only one can be used at a time for the moment. An additional invention of the RSP scheme is that we doesn't need to have a pre-installed profile inside of it, and because the profile can be even transferred using Wi-Fi or another new technology, Bluetooth or whatever. Yes. Now I want to go into details. So this was just an overview to the overview. But let's, before we go into details of the deployment, let's talk a little bit about the differences between eSIM and eUSSC. Just because sometimes in the different companies, they make a differentiation on this. From the perspective of the GSMA, there is actually no difference, because the eUSSC is more the technical term, the synonyms, and yes, the eSIM is more the marketing term. Yes, this was one of the definitions on the you can find on the GSMA webpage. Yes, all of the same. Okay, then for the value chain, what we have right now, so the current situation, or at least in many countries, so especially in Germany, so it looks like in the way that we collect all of the parts of which are needed for the communication. So we're wafer, chip provider, chip card module level, and so the personalization on card level will be done, all of this for the SIM card. And then we have the device manufacturer and his part. And this all provided so to the mobile network operator, MNO, and then from the operator it goes to the end customer. This is the way how we have it in Germany, at least. In the future, so it will be the case that yes, we have the similar value chain. So with a wafer chip provider and the wireless module provider, the system integrator, and it goes to the customer. So especially in the M2M area, it's a big difference. Yes, and then the customer, so they can decide which operator to take. Okay, this is kind of summarizing the result and the background of the eSIM. And let's go to the next step. So the next step will be the applied RSP technology. We will see the eSIM trends, the deployments on the market. We'll talk about wearables, so especially the global platform white paper on this, and the benefits of the eSIM. Okay, some time ago, global platform asked the following question. Global platform, you probably know, is one of the standardization group involved in this area, but not only. We'll talk about this a bit later. Yes, the question was, what is the most relevant IoT type for your company? So please see the results. You can see there connected sensors for the IoT area, the gateway, the smart meters, the wearables, healthcare, monitors, automotive area, cloud infrastructure, and the other areas. So you can see the automotive was the most relevant IoT type. And then we had the wearables on the second part. Yes, but all of this takes place. Okay, actually, Cisco is also very well involved in the IoT area. So this is one of the examples of the use cases, especially the industrial, for the industrial view on IoT industrial use case. For example, this Dundee Precious Metals is using IoT systems to help, to connect its end-to-end mine operations. So inside of the mine, so for the mine workers, it's they check if there is any people inside of the mine. So and then only after this checking, so they can do some work. And there is location tracking system, so which is also connected with the Internet of Things. It's seems to be quite useful in this area. Another example is a manufacturer called QCar. Which is with the help of Microsoft's IoT systems, connects factory robots. So especially in the robotic area, so the IoT is also very well used in the industry. These are actually my examples. So what I know. There are many others. You probably know a lot of other examples. And so now today, so we really live in the connected world. Okay, but let's talk about the constraints of the or the typical things for the industrial view on the IoT. The so-called IoT or M2M devices have similar characteristics. For example, the first one is the long lifetime, so more than 10 years. So it's different for example, than for the mobile phones, where the regular lifetime of the mobile phone is 2 years, 3 years. Sometimes some people change it more often. Yes, but it's different with a wind turbine. Another thing is a very limited user interface. You can imagine, so that's difficult to place it on some devices, so where actually each piece of space is already prepared for something, so has a specific purpose. And then a user interface, who needs this? Okay, the deployment of the device with the least possible user interaction. So is it also very typical for the industrial view on IoT. The automated integration to the network infrastructure is typical. So think about the robots. So in the industry, everything needs to be automated. So to avoid the human factor, so in the errors. Okay, and then for sure, the remote management. So it's already there. So not now about, while talking about the profiles or operator credentials, but they are already remotely managed. Then there is a separation between the IoT service provider and network infrastructure provider. So this is also quite typical, but it depends. Sometimes you have big companies where it's combined. So yes, but mainly, so at least from what I know, from the examples, this is quite often the case. Yes, and the environments, they're quite often different ones as then you use your mobile phones. So they can be very harsh, and especially so the weather condition or vibration. Yes. Okay, another topic is the security. It's becoming a growing concern in this market. So since a long time ago, as I said, I have a cryptography background, and it's always been a concern, the security. Yes, and consider the following when thinking about potential security issues: initial deployment of credentials and management over the entire life cycle of the device for potential billions of the devices. Then the secure bootstrapping of network service and remote management of network services. When all of these machines in a manufacturing area, so if they are suddenly all stop, yes, then it's a big problem for the manufacturer, and you should be aware of it and have a control of it. So the manufacturer has to have control, have some ways of secure bootstrapping. And then we have the secure M2M IoT or IoT service integration. So it all has to be secure. Yes, especially so, for example, even in our company, we have a robot, so and everything has to be secured around this thing to avoid some potential dangerous situations. We have also the authenticated and authorized management operations. So everything has to be authorized, not in the way that so it should never be the case that a person which is not familiar with all of the infrastructure gets into this area, which is dangerous, and then there is a big security issue. Yes, I'm talking about these topics because all of this leads actually to what we have right now in the remote SIM provisioning on the eSIM. If you keep this in mind, so this is the areas, these are the situations, you will understand the structure. Why does it have to be that secured, and why does it has to be so we have different components interacting, and we have the keys and certificates, because all of this had to be mirrored on this small piece of the embedded SIM. Okay, so this was the industrial view. And there is a use case for the consumer IoT or consumer-oriented IoT. Yes, the most common type of this consumer-oriented IoT is or are the wearables. Let's take a look on this. Now you can see on the screen, so we have these examples of deployed devices. Okay, these are, again, mine examples, just that you have a better imagination or better understanding of what we're talking about. And yes, we have, for sure, we have smartwatches since a while ago, so like Apple Watch and Samsung Gear. So actually, especially Samsung Gear was one of the first who deployed the eSIM, or the first version of it. So now the GSMA group, so they're working on the third phase of the embedded SIM specifications, about SIM provisioning specifications. And Samsung, they were the first who introduced this on the Mobile World Congress, so with the Samsung Gear smartwatch. Yes, we have sport watches, so the different types of it. Then we have the head-mounted displays, so for the augmented reality and the virtual reality. So here we have different types with the Google Glass and Microsoft HoloLens and whatever. Yes, then the body-worn cameras, different types of it again. So the Bluetooth headsets, especially also nowadays, it's quite common. Wristbands, different fitness monitors, and especially for people who are jogging. And then the medical devices. Yes, this is actually the area where it helps a lot. The IoT is promising us the big growth in this area, or you can see it already deployed. Then another interesting thing, the smart jewelry. So it doesn't have to be, yes, just the classical, so especially for women. No, I'm talking just as a woman. So it's nice to have not only this classic yes, device looking like whatever you have on your desktop, laptop, or things like this. So you can have a smart jewelry. And then the animal tracking devices. Yes, sometimes it's useful if you had something on your animal, so where you can find it again. So, and this all connected through the internet. Let's talk about the limitations of the wearables. It's also important because especially there is a quite new group in the GSMA trying to address especially this limitations of the so compared to the classical way of defining the eSIM and the use case for the eSIM, here we have a bit some different limitations. For example, the first one is limited or no interface to display information or collect input from the end user. Yes, limited size of the displays or no touch display, no sound output, whatever. It can be different. And then, yes, the low processing power. So the animals tracking device is a different one from the cost as well. So then the industrial one. The limited power supply or power obtained from the field is also typical. And yes, limited connectivity, including the absence of network connectivity, limited bandwidth, absence of or limited connectivity with a primary device. I will talk about this primary and secondary device later on. Yes, the other limitations is also maybe the slow deployment of the related infrastructures. There is an example of the payment use case. So yes, the usage of wearables is limited by the availability of contactless payment terminals. This is how we have, at least in Europe. Yes, the lack of interoperability for some use cases. Yes, so the fragmentation of the ticketing infrastructure. You have to buy always a different ticket for, there is not different application for, yes, a different type of buses. So at least in our city, we have the situation. And it's difficult to deal with this. And my city is quite small. Yes, let's talk a little bit about the primary and companion device. Yes, wearables are mostly seen as a companion device from GSMA perspective. What is a companion device? Companion device is a device that relies on the capabilities of a primary device for the purpose of remote SIM provisioning. Yes, the capability may be different. It can be the capability to scan the QR code. Sometimes the smartwatch may not have the QR code scanner, and yes, may not have the capability to connect to the backend server. And then it relies to on the capability of another device, like your mobile phone, for example. Quite typically, they connect to the primary device using the Bluetooth Low Energy. Not often the case, but still ongoing. Yes, and the device vendor shall provide the detailed information about which RSP functionality requires a primary device. This is what is defined in the GSMA standards for this. And yes, the high-end wearables, so they may connect to a primary device using NFC, Wi-Fi, or whatever technology. Yes, some of them, they may even be able to connect directly to a mobile network operator using the cellular network without being paired with the primary device. And the connectivity is then enabled by USSC or eUSSC inside of the wearable. Okay, this was a few so on the different limitations and constraints, or the typical typical things for the industrial and the consumer view on the IoT, on the use case, on the also deployment of the embedded SIM. I hope you can now imagine or can have a better feeling of all of the different areas where it is used. And then when we talk about the standards, or at least the profiles, you will understand why do we need, for example, the bootstrapping profile. So you can think about, okay, there is a security issue. Or if we have different use case of the systems inside of it, so how they are connected. So you can also think about the different examples from the real life. I'm sure you have your own examples in mind. but it's sometimes it helps. So no one has everything on its plane. This is actually a summary. And for the next step, let's talk about the benefits. The benefits is what is quite often discussed, especially from or introduced by some bloggers. So I will show you some of them. Yes, there are benefits for different players. Let's talk one by one, go one by one. So for everyone, it means the eSIM provides an equivalent level of security as a removable SIM card. So we have the same, plus the advantage of the remote SIM provisioning and the overcoming of the challenges that we had before. Okay, then the subscription credentials stored on the SIM card, so they enable secure and private access to networks. And it also supports the integrity of the billing process, especially in roaming scenarios. Okay, let's go one by one. Then so we have also freedom of choice to select the operator, so there are no boundaries. The price optimization is, due to the selection, so you can optimize the price. And so it can be quite often used in the dual SIM scenarios. So for example, we had the scenario with the iPhone, so where you have the classic SIM together with the eSIM, or what we have right now quite often in the cars, so in the automotive area. Yes, we have the classic SIM and also the embedded one. So especially in the area of the eCall, so emergency call, in some countries it's already required to have it included in the cars. And we have this, so sometimes some cars use it in the way that you have the classic SIM, which you can change, and the one, so just to have a kind of a bootstrapping with it. Yeah, there are benefits for the device manufacturers. They can, especially they are the winner in this situation, they can exploit the reduced needed space inside the products by designing smaller devices. So before they had always kept to somehow to regulate this. Then the products, they can also be made more tolerant to environmental factors, such as temperature, vibration, and so on. So because they can be hermetically sealed, as I said, so the problem with the oil pipe in the ocean is now solved, or vibration in the car. Yes, they can leverage the eSIM to optimize the supply chain process. So this is actually nowadays already working, so you don't have to wait for the physical SIM card to arrive at your home. So you buy your phone. So then you can you can just register at the operator site or have some regulatory things, and then you don't need to wait, and they don't have to. Yes, it eases the supply chain. So now I'm already talking about not only the device manufacturer side, but also about the operator advantage and the the consumer advantage, the control. This is actually the big points. Now the device manufacturer, or actually you as a end user, so the customer, they decide whom to take, which operator to take, and it's a question of control. For the end user, yes, simplified management of subscriptions and connections. This is what I was talking about. So when you have just to sign up somewhere on the web page, web portal of some service provider, and you don't have to wait for the physical SIM actually. Yes, and they don't have to manage several SIM cards. The process was annoying. So to insert this card, so, or insert it inside, and so then take it out, so switch the operator, so you can just click on it, and then it's automatically selected, and then by enabling, so it's enabled and the profile is there, you can connect to the operator. Yes, and there is a freedom of choice, you're not bounded. Price optimization, so there is no expensive roaming, so the roaming prices in some countries are a nightmare. So this is helps a lot. And so now I'm talking as yes, my personal feelings. And yes, personal data protection through soldered SIM card. So yes, if the eSIM is soldered inside, so the eSIM may be removable as well. So that it's sometimes still the case, but the intention actually to have it soldered inside, then you don't have to. So if you lose your phone, so nobody can take the SIM card out, so then read out your data, or yes, so your data are protected. your data is protected, and especially the bank credentials or things like this, which are very sensitive, they are protected as well. Yes, and as I said, dual SIM scenario, so it's also a benefit for the end user. For organizations, so there is a big benefit, especially in the enterprise area. So just imagine a situation where the devices may be not managed by the end user, maybe not easily accessible, so making individual device management very costly. Yes, then we have this big benefit of the remote SIM provisioning. So for organizations, so if the owner of the company with this wind turbine in Siberia, so I think he's quite happy that he doesn't have to send someone to Siberia so to change the SIM card somewhere. And yes, it helps a lot. Yeah, enterprises for them, especially for organizations where you have the several mobile phones, they have to be all on the same with the same contract. And if you have an update, so then it can be run in one. So then it's all done as well. Or changing operator. Yes, it's cost saving without having a physical SIM. For the distributors, there are simplified logistics again. So this is one of the examples of the distributors where you can just easily select one of the many examples actually. Easily select one of the so the country you go to, and then you can select the amount of data you will be using, and then you can call without using this expensive roaming, so which you usually have on your mobile phone. Yes, the operators. To be honest, so the operators were at the beginning, they were not very happy about this embedded SIM. But since we have these challenges, as you have seen, so they accept this, and now working as well on the requirements, especially keeping the security of the profiles. To have them in securely stored, or kept secure. One of the advantages that they have easier ways to expand their businesses into emerging markets, especially, for example, the automotive, wearables, or consumer electronics. So before, they were only mainly using the mobile phones. Now, since you've seen this in the video, so everything is connected, and so there is a chance actually. Yes, SIM card distribution costs are eliminated. So we have new distribution models for devices and for the marketing of subscriptions. Yes, the switching to the best operator is simplified. So this is actually also the advantage of the smaller operators or of the MVNOs. They can win with the better prices, which is good for the end user as well. Yes, this was the part of the benefits. Now I have a summary part. This is all for you to test your knowledge. Actually, the summary part, so I have some questions prepared. And if you were taking care of all of what I was talking about, so this will be easy for you to understand or to remember, to answer these questions. I have no proof on the video. I have no idea how to prove this. But actually, if you don't answer that, so if it was not easy for you to answer these questions, then you should go back and take a look through the slides, because otherwise you will have difficulties later on with the understanding. Now we are on the basic parts, in the introduction of the basic parts. Okay, let's go. The first question. First question is, what are the two main challenges for the traditional SIM card? Now I hope you remember this one. So the logical and the physical. So what it means. Just to answer to yourself, or you can have a break right now. So if you think you're good to go. What is the GSMA definition of an eUSSC? This is also important because sometimes even in the big summits, you can see that people have a different understanding what an eSIM is, and it makes problems. Please take a look. There are 2 points to remember actually. So the way how it solves the challenges or helps with the challenges. What are the advantages of the eUSSC? Yes, there are many benefits. You can take a look. So this is also for you. What are the constraints for industrial and consumer IoT? Please So just remember some of them. Last but not least, but what are your own examples for IoT usage? If we would have a live webinar session, so then I would be happy to hear this. If you can send me an email and have your own examples or questions, please feel free. Yes, just I think you know your situation and your own examples and use cases. Now it's time to remember. So now it's good